Welcome to Basic Trigonometry, and recently I've been asked a lot of questions about trigonometry and how to tackle them, and so I present you with this video. So this video is basically all about trigonometry, which is suitable for the IGCSE level or even the GCSE level. So yeah, let's start. So, there are a bit of interesting facts about trigonometry. One of them is that they are really frequently used, and so learning them is really beneficial. Also, they aren't just straight off this equals that, because it's always different. They can be so different that for every single angle that you calculate, it has a different answer or equation for it. So it's really dynamic and it changes a lot. So the only trouble to understand trigonometry for a lot of people is to understand why they are like that, and they just can't get around dynamic. So yeah, this video is going to try and help you to deal with that problem. So also it is definitely an important theory that you must understand in order to get an A or above. Also, for each triangle, only 3 clues are needed to find out basically every single side and angle of that triangle. The 3 clues are the right angle, either 2 sides, a side and an angle. And it can't be 2 angles, because if we have 3 identical angles, then you get into a situation where you get an AAA triangle, which can be of any single size. As long as they're similar, they are obeying that rule. So there aren't going to be questions based on that, but you just have to understand that it takes just a little bit of hint for you to find out every single angle of a triangle. So for the first example, I have a classic right-angled triangle, and I encourage you to label each of these corners A, B, and C for each separate triangle, and this will be quite good as long as you understand the theories behind. So if you can label the right angle angle C and the hypotenuse as angle C, because normally in math we label angles and the sides correspondingly. So the opposite of angle C will be side C, the opposite of angle A will be side A, the opposite of angle B will be side B. And so C goes in the right angle, and the rest you can just either have A on top or the other way around, it doesn't matter. So I will give you a step-by-step guide on how to solve trigonometry. So the first step will be to decide which angle or side do you want to work on. That is just to select a perspective for your choice. For example, if I wish to find the angle B, for say, then I would have selected B, nope, I should use red. That. So we've got angle B as the one that we have selected. So now we have to give the second step, which is to write down this. You've probably heard of this before, the Sohcahtoa Method, and I personally don't like it because it's really confusing and it gives you a general idea of O is always O, H is always H, but it's not the case. If I start with angle B, the opposite would be B. Yet if I start with A, the opposite is not B. Therefore, I hate the labeling on the diagram. So the best thing you can do is label it off the diagram, which means you aren't going to mess your brain up. So let's label them. For sine, it's opposite over hypotenuse, which is for each angle is different. Then cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Then tangent is opposite over adjacent. So that is quite straightforward, and yeah, basically it's not too bad. Then we can go back to our 3 clues, and to first of all, this route or this method only works on a right angle triangle because that is the only clue that is compulsory for this. So we have the right angle. Then you have to find the 2 other things. So if I want to find angle B, let's say I have side B and side C. So I'll label that green. So I've got this and this. So now what you have to do is to decide on decide what they are relative to this chosen angle. And yeah, that is quite challenging for some people, and I ran out of space. There we go. So you have to find out what side or angle is this. Are those 2 given relative to this angle? So if you have all 3 of these together, what rule would include every single one of them? So the first thing you will think is we've got an angle. You always label an angle with a trigonometry rule. And we know that relative to B, we've got the opposite and the hypotenuse. So you should get some trigonometry rules that fits opposite over hypotenuse, and yet there's only one, which is in fact sine. So we know that sine B is equal to B over C. And so the last thing you need to do is actually to apply that equation to this triangle, and that is the step-by-step guide for you guys. Most of the time, if you label them on the diagram, then you'll be like, oh, this must be O and this must be hypotenuse, which this is correct, but you will think that this is adjacent, and yet if your perspective changed to A, then you will find that using blue, you'll find that the opposite is not the opposite. The adjacent is not the adjacent either. And so you basically flipped around and messed yourself up. That is most of the trouble that people find, is that when you labeled it, you forget to erase them, so that you get yourself messed up. So yeah, try not to do that. So yeah, that is example 1 for the general. And now let's do some work with true numbers. Well, I guess you can see this coming up, can you? Because a lot of questions are similar to this, and these type of questions and these type of diagrams are terrible. And yeah, you have to know how to do them, which really I don't enjoy. But there are ways of doing it. The first thing for you to solve these questions, for each diagram, you should make a checklist of which side and angles do you have. And remember, capitals are the corners or the angles, and the small letters are the sides. So let's see. In this diagram, we have no idea what A is, no idea what B is, but we do know that C is 90 degrees, so we can cross that out if I can get the right tool. And so we've crossed C out. Now we need to find, if we know side A, which is the opposite of angle A, and we do. This is 4, and so we can cross A out. Then now we have the hypotenuse, which is the opposite of the 90 degree, which is C. There we go. So now we just need to find 3 things. Doesn't sound difficult, does it? So, what can trigonometry do for us? Now this is the magic. First, select the perspective that we want, and for my sake, I have started with A, this angle, because we want to find angle A as the first thing. And so now we can find that what the other 2 sides are. We have the opposite equals 4, a hypotenuse equals 8, and therefore we can create the equation sine A is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, which is 4 over 8, or 4 divided by 8. And now if you know how to use a calculator, which I hope you do, then you should be able to get that A is equal to arc sine, written like this, 0.5. And so that would result in a nice and round number, 30 degree. So now we've got one angle done, and let's destroy this. So we've got one away, so I guess the step doesn't really matter. You can pause the video to get all that information anyway. And so I will remove this. So we've got A equals 30, and those are labeled. So now, what is next after A? So we've got one angle, 2 angles. We need another angle. Guess what? You don't need trigonometry. You just need angle sum of triangle, which is given on the rule based A plus B plus 90 equals 180 degree. Or if you are smart about it, the 2 angles other than 90 degree will sum up to 90 degree, so you skip one step, which is quite convenient. And now you just need to put 30 into A and rearrange to get B is equal to 60 degree. And so that is another angle then, is it? There we go. We just need one side. Cool. So how should we approach side B? And the first thing we need is to find an angle that is relatively useful. And in this case, it doesn't really matter, because for angle B, this side will be opposite. For angle A, this side will be adjacent. We can use both trigonometry rules. And so I have decided to keep our theme on using angle A. So for angle A, that includes adjacent. There is only, there are two ways of doing it, but I enjoy using the cosine way better because it uses the hypotenuse, which is really convenient for a lot of reasons. And so we can generalize the equation for cosine is cosine A is equal to adjacent, which is B, over 8, which is C. So there we go. That is the equation that we can create easily. Then next up, we need to rearrange. And you can probably guess that it's probably going to look like something like that, because you can just multiply both sides by 8 and therefore get B by itself. So after this step, you can just substitute all the values into it. We don't know B, therefore we can substitute A that we know, so we can get the equation to be B equals 8 cosine 30. And after a bit of calculator magic, B equals 6.928 or 6.93 with three significant figures. There we go. So if you're using three significant figures, remember to use this bracket in all exams on all pages, because they can just use that as a weapon to take off your marks, which you don't want to lose. And as the question has stated, find all sides and angle, we have crossed out every single one of them. To complete the answer, to complete the answer, we just need, we've got A, we've got B, we need C. So C, with black ink, C is equal to 90 degrees, right? So what is left next that the question wanted is side A and side C, which is A and C. So it's just 4 and 8. There, we have all the answer that the question wanted, and so we don't need all of these steps, and that is the complete answer to this particular question, question 2. And yeah, that's basically all that I can tell you for trigonometry. So for the last bit that I'm going to give you is a way of generalizing Sohcahtoa, which I am really not a big fan of. So yeah, first of all, we have understand that opposite sides are itself with the same name. That's why we can do with sine itself over C, and C is always the hypotenuse because we label it C, and so this is in general true. And for cosine, it's just the other thing or other than C. C stays the same for both of those, and top part of the fraction switches into the other side. So that is another thing that you can do. And finally, you've got tangent, which is the only trigonometry function that doesn't contain the hypotenuse, so we can generalize it as a over b and b over a. Notice that sine a and cos b are the same, and sine b over cos a, sine b and cos a is the same, are the same. So yeah, they can be a pair. So let me switch them around. There we go. So you will notice that these two are the same. So basically, the sine of this angle is equal to the cosine of this angle. The tangent of this angle is really the reciprocal of this tangent. And so that wraps up everything that I have to say for trigonometry, and I hope you have a great success on dealing with these problems. And yeah, I'll see you with some question maybe. So this is your only question that I'm going to test you on, because trigonometry, although useful, there aren't much depth to it, because it's quite straightforward, and most of the time if you understand it, you understand it. If you don't, you don't. Simple as that. So I hope that this video actually helps you with understanding this concept a bit easier or better. And so yeah, I will give you a few seconds to pause the video right now, and I will release the answer soon. So in 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, back here, we are going to give you the answer, or I am going to give you the answer. So one of the most obvious thing that you have to know is that I've given you an angle. Therefore, according to angle sum of triangle, you should be able to instantly label 70 degree. And I missed out the degree, did I? I'll give it a thick degree. So now you need trigonometry. Most often you should use the given number in case you made a mistake on one calculation. So the first step you would do here is to do a using angle 20 with this side. You should be able to calculate both of these using this is cosine and this is tangent. So for a 5 over cosine 20, we can get 5.32, three significant figures. And so the tangent will be a 5 tangent angle 20, and therefore 1.82. So that is all the angles labeled and side labeled. So it's not a big deal, is it? You basically can get everything using just 3 clues. So yeah, I think that this is a great thing. Trigonometry is really useful in a lot of ways, and so that's it. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do like it, please leave me a like. Helps me out, and give me some questions that I can help you on, as the exam is coming really soon. So yeah, I will see you next time.